It has recorded at least 613 Palestinians killed while trying to access aid in Gaza. A majority of those deaths, 509, were reported near distribution points operated by the controversial Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, which is backed by Israel and the United States. The Gaza Health Ministry puts the overall death toll even higher at over 650, with more than 4,000 others injured. Rights groups have condemned the foundation's aid model, calling its distribution sites, quote, human slaughterhouses. A civil defense official in Gaza said that civilians have been deliberately killed by Israeli forces, including by sniper fire, drone strikes and air attacks targeting families. Let's take a listen in to some of a spokesperson for the United Nations Human Rights Office and what they had to say.
So the latest figures that we have recorded 613 killings, both at GHF points and near humanitarian convoys. Now, this is a figure as of the 27th of June. Since then, I was reading our latest sitrep. There have been further incidents. Colleagues have pointed out the challenges of verifying information because we don't have eyes and ears on the ground. International press is not being allowed, and neither are we. We are doing what we can to try to verify these figures, but there's a time lag, and we will perhaps never be able to grasp the full scale of what's happening here because of the lack of access. On who is responsible, it is clear that the Israeli military has shelled and shot at Palestinians trying to reach the distribution points. How many killings, who is responsible for that? We need an investigation. We need access, we need an independent inquiry, and we need accountability for these killings.
We are once again joined by Ross Feingold, political risk analyst, to discuss this story and further updates from the Middle East. Ross, this ongoing situation with aid distribution points is in headlines constantly. The reports from the United Nations say over 600 people are being killed while trying to access aid at these Gaza Humanitarian Foundation points, 4 of which are in North Gaza, 1 of which is in the center. Are these aid sites becoming tools of control rather than belief, do you believe?
Unfortunately, the reality is, according to Israel, the Hamas still is active in the area near the aid distribution sites, and that's leading to hostilities near where people are queuing up to receive the aid packages from the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. You know, that's just what happens in war. This is a combat zone, and we have to keep that in mind. Now, the death of innocent civilians who are lining up for aid is a terrible tragedy. But there is a way to end this, and that would be for Hamas to accept the proposed ceasefire that the United States has put on the table in recent days. But as long as Hamas continues to refuse to agree to a ceasefire, and they want to continue to engage in hostilities with Israel, then there are going to be innocent civilians who die. Again, that's a terrible, terrible tragedy, but that is the reality of a war zone.
Ross, Israel says its strikes and its attacks are direct, and they say that they try and minimize civilian casualties. Over 500, the United Nations reports, have been killed directly at these aid sites. How can Israel say that it is minimizing civilian casualties when it is engaging in combat in such a way near these desperate, some reports say starving people trying to get aid?
It's long been Israel's position throughout the course of this war since October 2023 that they take as many steps as possible to minimize civilian casualties, but that Hamas does embed itself with civilians. And that is true. I don't think there's any falsehoods when Israel says that Hamas continues to embed itself with civilians. And again, it leads to the tragic deaths of innocent civilians, but it brings us back to the same point. We could have a ceasefire, we could have a resumption of aid if Hamas will agree to the terms that have been offered. It's Hamas that doesn't agree to the terms of the ceasefire, and it continues to prevent aid from getting into the civilians who really need it. And we're stuck in a never-ending cycle of a war that just doesn't seem to want to end. And it's really up to Hamas to put down their weapons, to evacuate Gaza, and to allow the day after activities of aid and reconstruction to begin.
Ross, thank you. You are staying with us.